Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Long as I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, 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 Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. Thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on Tampa, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL. When things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, Boogie like this and I'm a Who Dat. Every day I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, 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 Boogie like this and I'm a Who Dat. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Goddamn right. All right, shout out to the fam, man. Big ups to the fam, man. Welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in the live on this one. Much love to the fam. We up in this thing. Much love. Big developments with the Saints, so to speak, man. A lot of the issues with the Saints, man, in terms of the injury execution, a number of things as we approach week number 3 NFL action. Y'all know the great Saint think tank, the mighty Who Dat Nation, does know that it usually takes anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks before we start seeing a lot of the rounding out of the rough edges, so to speak. A lot of the rough and wrinkled play starts to kind of solidify. If you're a solid team, you start to correct the issues that plagued you in the first couple of weeks moving forward into the season, one would hope. So the situation is whether or not the New Orleans Saints is a team that learns from its mistakes. Is that indeed the case of what we're dealing with? Only time will tell, fam. I do realize that if the past is any indication of present into the future, then the injury situation is something that we've seen last year, right, fam? So we've seen that. And what you would try to do is learn from the mistakes of the past so you do not end up repeating them. So we're going to talk about that, man, in this thing. Shout out to OG Jerry. Good to see you. Trey Joseph in the building. Much love. Good to see you, brother. As well, Willie Cameron. Shout out to you, my man. Appreciate you. What's up, Jones Jr.? Big ups to you, my brother. Appreciate you. Snake Bite. Much love to you. OG to the 3rd degree. Much love. 504 Coast says, Trade Ruiz, you lucky if you can get a Caesar salad in return. Hey, bro, how long has it been? Because somebody tell me how long has it been I've been talking about Cesar Ruiz before people even notice Cesar Ruiz's play. How long has it been that I've been talking about this guy? I've been putting people on game. Do anybody know? Put it in the chat, man. It's been a while. What's up, brother Gundam? Shout out to you. Cartel, much love. St. Doug, big ups to you, man. Montreal, shout out to you, fam. Appreciate you as well. Shout out to my brother, Big Low. What's up, Big Low? Shout out to my dog, Low. Much love to you, my brother. And listen, man, congratulations to my dog, Low. The Falcons took care of business against the Vikings. They got a win. Man, listen. Shout out to them guys. Brother Gundam, shout out to you, bro. Since 2021. Yeah, bro, listen. Hey, man, I did the paid for the family members who YouTube membership and Patreon champions. The film study for the 49ers tape is available for your guys' viewing pleasure for you guys to check out. And we pinpoint that, man. The film is very interesting, to say the least, man, just to keep it positive. What's up, Kai? Shout out to Kai the Great, man. Much love. Yeah, I hear you. The OG said made him sick. 504-6Q, you've been talking about Ruiz for at least 5 years. Hey, bro, I've been telling people, man, about Ruiz, man. Ruiz had one good year, and that's the year in which he got paid. The year he got that check off of. That's when he really had to say. After that, Ruiz is bad, man. His technique is bad. You watch the 49er film, PFF has him, I think he's the lowest rated of the linemen. And if you look at the film, and we show it on there, Ruiz gets beat. And the 49ers even shifting the defensive line so they can line the interior defensive lineman with Ruiz one-on-one. And Ruiz loses his balance. He fall. I don't know how. One of the plays where he literally came out of his stance, lost his balance. The guy swim. I don't even know how he ended up even doing that. So I was befuddled by the damn film, my damn self. But it is what it is, you know. It is. But the great thing about it is, as bad as he's looking, it is hard to ignore the tape on Ruiz if you're talking about winning. The pressure's on, fam. The pressure's on Ruiz, man. The pressure's on. Lo says, "Oh, we gonna sweep around our front door." Yeah, I hear you, Lo. I hear you, brother. All right. Gundam says, question. He says, Q, why is Cesar Ruiz using punch? I don't know what. Cesar Ruiz is not a skilled offensive lineman, bro. He's not complete. And that's weird to say because he's been with the Saints for 6 years now? He's not a complete lineman. His footwork, his leverage is inconsistent. I don't want to dog Ruiz because there were reps on film where you could see he actually did a pretty good job standing up against some of the 49ers interior linemen. He did a few reps of that. But the one word, if you had to pick a word to describe Cesar Ruiz, in my opinion, I would say inconsistent. And if you ask me to put another word with it, I would say terribly inconsistent. His technique is terribly inconsistent, and people are starting to recognize that, and I think it's a good thing. We need to get that guy to play better or get him out of here, man. We need better play from our offensive linemen. If we're going to end up winning these games, we need our people that make the money to start making the catches. We need these guys to make the goddamn tackles. We need a series of things. Yes, Hemisphere, this is live. So welcome in, Hemisphere. It is live. Poppy 504. Red T said, we'll see if Moore's a real coach. If he has the cojones to bench Ruiz, bro, it's single-handedly costing us points. It was a play where we seen Spencer Rattler get flushed out of the pocket, and Cesar Ruiz was the one that opened the door. I often joke about him opening the door for his quarterback to get ran out of there. Yeah. But anyway, man, I don't make it a Caesar Salad Ruiz or Caesar Chicken Salad Ruiz bash fest, because he's doing that pretty much on his own, making himself look bad. But yeah, Torrey Salad Simpkins could. I mean, if you're gonna rely on it, we're gonna see, man. It's just gonna be 3 weeks into the season, and we just have to monitor it and see how it goes. Anyway, let's kind of hop into the show, man. I don't want to kind of hold you guys too long on the broadcast, man. But listen, Saints had announced some stuff that they took care of today. Just want to go over it with it about the Saints Day. Mickey Loomis announced today that the club has signed safety Terrell Burgess to the active roster from the practice squad. So we know that Terrell Burgess, who's the fifth-year defensive back out of the University of Utah, who played really good in preseason and in training camp, and just barely, just missed the Saints cut because other defensive backs were playing better, but he cleared the waiver wire. The Saints added them to a practice squad, and now they're bringing him on the team. They feel very confident that Terrell Burgess can help in the secondary room. Of course, we know the injuries that happened to Julian Blackmon. We know things are going on, and Burgess would be a welcome addition. Plus, he's a decent special teams player as well. Now, he was added to the roster, and they placed defensive tackle Vernon Broughton, the third-round pick this year, on the IR, ending his season. In addition to that, they picked up Sataoa Laumea. This is a guard, and Will Sherman to the practice squad, and terminated the contract of Hunter Dekkers, who's basically the current era. What's your boy JT Barrett? That's basically what Hunter Dekkers is. He's the current version of JT Barrett. Pretty much, he gets cut, brung back. He gets cut, he gets brung back. But speaking of Burgess, 5'11" was originally selected in the third round, 104th overall in 2020 draft by the Rams out of the University of Utah. Joins the active roster after signing the practice squad. Spent the first couple of weeks with the squad early on. And of course, he was a standard elevation off the practice squad, rotating in at safety on special teams. And he played a little bit in the 49ers game as well. So 44 regular season games, 4 starts, posting 42 tackles, 27 solo, 1 pass breakup, and 12 special teams rep. Terrell Burgess will help the Saints in the special teams room. And of course, some offensive linemen help Sataoa Laumea, 6'4", 300-plus guard from originally drafted by the Seahawks in the 6th round, 107th overall, also out of the University of Utah. We got 2 Utah guys. Laumea started all 6 games he appeared in for Seattle back in 2024 at the right guard position, spent the 25 season with Seattle and started the season on their practice squad. He had 5 collegiate years with the Utes from 2019 to 23, and he played 45 games with 44 consecutive starts, mostly at the right guard position, 25 at the tackle. And he was named All Pac-12 in 4 consecutive seasons, earning 4 team honors. So this guy had some talent. You know, he was there, and I watched some of the film on him. You know, he's a decent backup offensive lineman option for the Saints. But like I said, the team definitely is taking a stance insofar as they're looking at seeing the injuries mount. We know that Tali Fuaga also, he has a knee issue, a bum knee issue that he's kind of dealing with right now. We do realize that the Saints have to approach this thing, picking up offensive linemen to depth, a veteran offensive lineman to their best of their ability. I think the only healthy offensive lineman they have on the practice squad is Easton Kilty, the undrafted guard who really didn't look that good in training camp. So Sataoa Laumea, welcome to the team. Also, Will Sherman was a guy, 6'4", 300-pounder from the University of Colorado, originally drafted by the Patriots in the 6th round. Out of Colorado after appearing in 1 game with the Pats in 21. He's from North Carolina, but spent time on the Patriots and Broncos practice squads. In college, he had 3 collegiate seasons with the Buffaloes, and he played in 24 games. He started 21 of them. He started most at the right tackle position. 12 of them in 2019, was named All Pac-12 honorable mention by the league's coaches in 2018 after playing 12 games with 9 starts. So we have 2 big offensive linemen who can help out at the tackle or guard position. And these are veterans, which means pretty much the Saints are going to, if they need be, rotate some of these players into the game. You know, if they need to activate or elevate these guys as we get close to getting ready for the Seahawks. And perhaps Laumea could be a guy that kind of can drop some inside game about the Seattle Seahawks and what they got going on up there, baby. You know, so a little, you know, we'll see what Kellen Moore has got in his little bag of trips. Maybe the guy got a little inside game on the Seattle Sea Chickens, but we know all we need to know about Seattle in terms of the offensive coordinator. The guy was here last year, right? All right, let's pivot to this, man. This is also the Saints injury report that they also released today. More in store. Tali Fuaga, of course, we know with the knee, and now it's a back issue. So a knee and back. When it rains, it pours. DNP'd for today. We know that that's not a surprise. That happens similar with, we know, Tali Fuaga. They're trying to limit what he does in practice in hopes that he's better ready to play in the game if that is indeed the case. Dylan Raduns has a toe issue. He was DNP'd. So the Saints looking at offensive linemen. Out of the 5 guys that are on the Saints week 3 Wednesday injury report, 3 of them, of the 5, are offensive linemen. Tali Fuaga with a knee and back. Dylan Raduns has a toe. He was DNP'd. And Trevor Penning was limited in practice. So he had a toe issue, and Trevor Penning's trying to make his way back to the fold, and we'll cover that momentarily. Chase Young still DNP'd. We're going into our 3rd week, and no Chase Young. Boy, no KT is talking his game right now. I know KT, I know you're listening, brother. KT is going in on Chase Young right now. I know he is. But Chase is still dealing with a calf issue. Going into week 3 is still early on. We'll know if Thursday and Friday reports will change. well, we might see Chase Young for the first time this season. We can damn sure need some pass rush from Chase Young on that opposite side. Cam Jordan didn't do a damn thing in this last game against the 49ers. He was as quiet as 3 church mouse, not 1, but 3 of the some guns. And it just simply is what it is. We need pressure from that opposite side, man, with Grando putting up 2 sacks. Cam was very quiet in the 49ers game. So anyway, Trey Palmer, our speedy wide receiver, is dealing with a hamstring issue. He was also limited, and that's the Saints report. Now going over to Seattle, they got a little bit more than we have. Zach Charbonnet, the running back, DNP. So is Nick Imowori, the big old safety. He was DNP too with an ankle issue. Safety Julian Love, hamstring, DNP. Cornerback Devon Witherspoon, DNP. A lot of defensive backs on that. Derek Hall, the linebacker, was limited with a hip. Wide receiver Torrey Horton, groin, limited. Cornerback Joe Jobe, knee, limited. Linebacker Ernest Jones was limited with a shoulder. And offensive tackle Abraham Lucas had an elbow issue, but he did practice. So like I said, first reported practice or the injury report of the week. We still have Thursday and Fridays to figure out exactly what's going to happen with the Saints in terms of the offensive line. Let's pivot to Trevor Penning in the practice, and he's feeling pretty giddy and getting ready. Shout out to NOLA.com. Trevor Penning been out since August the 10th with a turf toe injury that occurred in the preseason game against the Chargers. The Saints offensive lineman may be nearing a return, and that's very interesting because, Dylan Radunz is dealing with that issue. Getting Trevor Penning back right now is a positive, right? I want to say it is. Penning practiced Wednesday on a limited basis, a sign that the former first rounder could be available for Sunday's game against the Sea Chickens. Before his injury, Penning was expected to start at the left guard for the Saints. Coach Moore said, "We'll have to see," when asked if Penning could play against the Seahawks. Penning's return could also be coming at a good time for the Saints. Dylan Radunz, who filled in during Penning's absence, missed Wednesday's session with an injury. This season will mark Penning's first at guard. The 2022 first-round pick began his career at tackle, spending the first 2 seasons at left tackle, but before moving to the right side. Prior to his third, with a new coaching staff in place, the Saints kicked Penning inside once they drafted Kevin Banks Jr. and with the 9th pick overall. So Banks slotted in at left tackle. The staff also moved last year's Tolly to the right side. And though he's also dealing with a knee injury and set out Wednesday session with a back issue included, Fuaga's aggravated his knee in the team session opener and has been limited since. He missed practice last Wednesday before returning the next 2 days and playing in Sunday's loss to the Niners. Moore said Fuaga's back injury is new, but Fuaga also managed a back injury as a rookie. In addition to Fuaga and Dylan Radunz, defensive end Chase Young was again out with the calf issue. The pass rusher has yet to make his season debut after hurting his calf days before the first game. So Penning is on his way back. How do you guys feel about Trevor Penning making a return back to the team? Yes, indeed. How are you guys feeling about that? No, you guys are feeling pretty happy to see that, right? Right? And there go KT. KT was popping. KT says, Q, I don't want hit, but there's a reason I call Chase Young Jadeveon Clowney, who, by the way, signed with the Dallas Cowboys a couple days ago. Jadeveon Clowney signed with the Cowboys. So, there you go. 2.0, injury prone, never had a double-digit sacks in a season and never lived up to draft style. I know KT was listening. I know he was listening. All right. It's Chris, Debbie. What's up, Debbie? Debbie says, is he okay? Yes, he is. Everything's fine with Chris Olave, and it is all good. So we good on that. So don't worry about that. Yes, Linda says retire before prayers to Olave retire before he gets another concussion. I think Chris Olave is really struggling right now. I didn't hear anything about Chris Olave, fam. Unless something just occurred. I didn't hear anything about Chris Olave. Hold on, let me just make a sweep right now. Let me just check on that. Give me a second, because I didn't hear anything about Chris Olave being hurt. None of that kind of stuff. But I know at times, man, when you the way he has been playing, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know a lot of people talking about how he's being regressed. He's regressing. But like I will still say this, it's still very early on for Chris Olave. I still believe in Chris Olave. I think Chris Olave is a good player. I just think right now He needs to just get back to being confident in this play. I don't see confidence in Chris Olave's game, right? The drop touchdown pass was not a good look. But I'll tell you what, I believe more in Chris Olave than I ever did in Juwan Johnson. I'm going to be honest with you. Juwan Johnson dropped 2 effing balls in that game. I mean, 2 easy gimme-ups. And that's what I'll be telling you about a certain reporter who's sitting up here glazing these guys and talking about the greatness of Juwan Johnson. But when he has these concentration drops, they pretend like they don't see him. That's not fair that's not fair and honest reporting. You can't just always report on the good things the players do and not mention nothing about the negative things that they do. Fair reporting means that you cover it all, whether it's good or bad, whether it makes them look good or bad. By the way, it's not me or you doing it. That's them doing it to themselves. Chris Olave is a good player, but in the first 2 weeks, he needs to get out of his own mental way. He getting in, with the adjustment. Now listen, Spencer Rattler took credit for that badly thrown ball. Like he threw it to Chris Olave in the first quarter of the game against the 49ers, and Olave had to turn around and adjust to the ball. But let me say something. Y'all, how many times have y'all seen Chris Olave make a catch like that? He specializes in one arm, one hand grabs and catches along the sideline, tiptoeing. That's his standard. We expect him to make a grab like that. So this is the thing that we know about Chris Olave's game plan, that he, in my opinion, is a very solid wide receiver. Just right now, he's catching it early. But listen, that's the bad news. The good news is still a lot of time that's remaining for him to turn this around, because outside of Elvin Kamara, Chris Olave he's by far our best wide receiver. And we can't have drop passes and stuff like that from Chris Olave. We must have him above anything catching the ball. The ball was thrown behind him, but he adjusted to it. And I've seen him make catches a lot more difficult than that. Especially if it's a touchdown pass, you're going to catch a lot of hell for that. But it is simply what it is. It's still a lot of time and games for the Saints to turn around and do. But how do you guys feel about Penning? That's the question. Debbie says, great. Okay. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. All right. Yeah. Gundam said TikTok, hubby. You need to stay off of TikTok, bro. You need to get the hell off of that, because 8 catches in the game and then he drops a touchdown pass. People's like, well, you wouldn't have did that. I don't care about any of that. You drop a touchdown pass or let the ball get ripped out of that. Every goddamn thing you did prior to that don't mean shit if you dropped a pass that could have tied the game. The same thing will happen with Chris Olave when he dropped that catch, that touchdown early on. You can't have that kind of thing go on. You got to make those grabs. That's what people paying you for. And then, of course, the Saints sit up there and they lose by what they lost. If the man catches the touchdown, they win. What I'm saying is the best players, or some of our most accomplished players, are the ones that's not helping the young quarterback out. Now, if you watch the tape, if you study the tape or watch the film work that we did, that's up for the family members to check it out on Patreon and our YouTube membership family. Thank you guys for y'all support on that, by the way. If you want to check out the film, I do highlight that. We talk about the stuff that's going wrong, how the Saints played, how Alontae Taylor, how terrible he looked on that touchdown pass the tight end had. The 49er tight end had a lot. Did y'all know Alontae Taylor was turned the wrong way on that play? Did y'all notice that? The film show you everything. Did y'all know that? On the touchdown play, the first touchdown, the catcher the 49ers had when they threw it to the tight end or the left side, Alontae Taylor was out there, the sole guy to stop him, and Alontae Taylor had his back turned, then had to whip around. He was turned the wrong way. I was like, why is he turned the wrong way? Because he was watching. I was like, it was just crazy. It was a crazy play. And know he was turned the wrong way. He was turned the wrong. I was like, no matter what, that's why he missed it. He had to turn around and then locate the guy. Then he grab at his feet. You ain't going to be able to bring nobody down doing that shit, man. So, anyway, what I'm saying is these guys have to play better to give the Saints a chance. But it's not the young quarterback the reason why they're struggling. Chris, Olave could be more accurate with his passes. That's true. But at the same time, when he hits you in the hands, you got to catch the ball, man, bottom line. And the line need to do a better job. Everybody need to do a better job. Group A need to do a better job. Everybody need to do a better job, if you ask me. All right, anyway, that's Penning, man. So Penning's return is possible. But speaking of which, let's cover this. How about this giblet, this jewel right here by our favorite reporter, Mr. Bob Rose. Shout out to Bob in the Saints Wire. Bob wrote this really good article, and he said, cap dollars be damned. Saints should bench these three veterans after 0-2 start. Bob is talking the talk and walking the walk. So let's cover who Bob thinks, Mr. Bob Rose thinks, that should be benched after the Saints 0-2 start. This is going to be good. All right. So he says, even they refuse to outwardly admit it, even though they refuse, the Saints are rebuilding a rebuilding football team. The Saints significantly younger squad than they've been in the last several years. Veteran stalwarts like Cam and DeMario are winding down. While Davis and Jordan are still major contributors and standout players, there are a few veterans on the team that cannot say the same. The Saints entered the third week traveling to face the Seattle Seahawks with an 0-2 mark. It's not the fault of any of two specific players, but it's also become clear that there are a couple of liabilities in the lineup. If the Saints are truly going to get younger and develop a more youthful core, here's some few veterans that should be replaced sooner than later at their positions. Who is he speaking about? At the linebacker level, right? Look at that picture of Pete Werner on the ground, looking for daisies and shit. Look at that. And the guy running the opposite way. He says veteran Pete Werner, $2.886 million salary cap hit. His replacement, Danny Stutzman, Jalen Ford, Isaiah Stallbird. In his fifth year, wow, Pete Werner's been here for 5 years. Werner started 58 games, has played 90%. That's 123 of the defensive snaps through 2 games so far. He's been a mainstay along DeMario and has also been a good run defender and instinctive player around the line of scrimmage. Werner has also been a liability in space. That was on his scouting report we talked about that. Y'all remember that athleticism is not his strong suit, particularly in pass coverage throughout his career, and one that opposing offense game plan to exploit. This is not to suggest that Werner can't contribute defensively. Coordinator Staley could be wise to limit his snaps, especially against spread formations and obvious pass situations, pulling Pete Werner off the field of play and then putting Danny Stutzman or Jalen Ford or somebody with an athletic degree. Now, we talked about this and mentioned this in the preseason and, when the Staley thought process was happening, where there was an idea where they would shift Staley to Staley would shift the Saints from a 43 to a 34 defense. We all know that the 34 defense is a defense that operates with the strength of the defense being the linebackers, the linebacker core. And your linebackers have to be fast, guys. They have to be able to cover a lot of space. We know that DeMario Davis is laterally challenged. Let's just put it like that. We know Pete Werner always been laterally challenged. We know Pete Werner's a smart linebacker, but he has to be his intelligence has to be on a higher level because he lacks the athleticism to close in on some of these players. So he has to be able to see it and attack it right away. And that's how he's been functioning. He's not as fast as you would want him to be. But Jalen Ford and Danny Stutzman, those guys are. So how does Staley then mix in Stutzman and Ford to get athleticism out there when they want to start passing? Because listen, if you watch the film on what the San Francisco 49ers was able to do to Pete Werner and DeMario Davis, best believe people are going to try to emulate that tape. They're going to try to use the slowness of DeMario and Pete Werner as against the Saints defense. They're going to use their lack of speed. Now they're both intelligent players, but DeMario's old and Pete Werner never was athletically gifted like that. He's always been credited as a smart player that makes plays. He just doesn't have that. So, but Ford and Stutzman do. So it'll be interesting to see how Staley does that. Okay, rookie 4th round selection Stutzman is a thumper with an old school playing style. He struggled at times in coverage at Oklahoma, doesn't necessarily often have athletic upside to Werner. They let him maybe a little bit more athletic than Pete Werner, I would say, Second-year linebacker Jalen Ford did excel in coverage duties with Texans. Ford is a superior athlete to Werner and offers terrific sideline-to-sideline range with good coverage instincts. Isaiah Stallberg began his collegiate career as a safety before moving to linebacker as a junior and has been terrific on special teams so far this season and would be an athletic upgrade even just as a nickel linebacker in a passing situation. So neither Stutzman, Ford, or Stallberg have yet to play a defensive snap this season. If the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, then opponents are capitalizing repeatedly when Werner is on the field against the pass. At the very least, it's time to limit reps and give opportunities to Stutzman, Ford, or Stallberg in different situations. If in all of these three perform better, then perhaps Werner could even be moved before the trade deadline to a linebacker-needy team in exchange for a draft choice. Very interesting philosophy and a little chess being played by Bob Rose on getting Stutzman, getting Jalen Ford and Stallberg involved in a 34 unit, and perhaps using Pete as a trade asset with all the picks the Saints are giving up. Perhaps they can get one back. Very interesting thought process there. The right guard position, moving to right. Look who's there. It's Caesar Chicken Salad Ruiz right there. Let's see what he got to say about Ruiz. Veteran Ruiz, $5.866 million cap hit. His replacement, Dylan Redunce or Torrey Sally Simpkins. Let's be both honest and obvious. Ruiz is not only, this is Bob Rose saying it's not, Ruiz is not only the weakest link on the offensive line, he's the biggest liability on this offense by far. Let me say it again. Let me say that again. I've been talking about this guy not being good for a while and saying this guy need to play better. Ruiz and this man in his sixth season, Bob says Ruiz is not only the weakest link on the offensive line, he's the biggest liability by far. And sadly, this isn't a new development this year. Ruiz has been a human turnstile, for defenders for the last few seasons. A turnstile. That means you one of these fucking doors that you go to at one of these old hotels downtown, and you know how you walk to the hotel and they got this spinning door? Some of the hotels interchange where the door slides. Some of them you got to pull them to open. But the older ones have this door where you push on. You got to put your weight into it to spin it around. That's what Cesar Ruiz is. But you don't have to put much weight on him to turn him around. I would consider him a vending machine on wheels. Like, how you push up, you get one of these Coke machines, and, the old vending machines outside the supermarket, and you grease the wheels real good, and you can be able to push it around where you want. That's Cesar Ruiz. That's how he's a vending machine on wheels. You can move him wherever you want to move. He says for a turnstile, call him a turnstile, but actually seems to be getting worse. Indeed, I've said that. His play has been so bad that it's doubtful he'll even bring anything at all back at trade assets. While Ruiz may not be tradable, the Saints could at least do their entire unit a favor by getting him off the field. And let's stick with that for a second. And I've been talking, Cesar Ruiz is terribly inconsistent. Not every rep he stinks on. That's the compelling and crazy part. He's never great. It's nothing good about his technique. He's woefully inconsistent and doesn't do any particular thing well. That's the crazy part about it, regardless of the fact that he's receiving reps. Cesar Ruiz is getting reps. Now, he was banged up last year, missed a few games, but he gets reps. He gets reps, game reps. This guy should be a lot better than what he is. There is no reason why this guy is that bad. I don't know what's going on with that. You had different offensive line coaches that came here to try to, and people sit up here and these players sit up here and pretend like he's doing the job. This guy is not close to what he's supposed to be. And it's horrible. They can talk about Penning all they want, but this guy here is terrible, man. He's just not good. Dylan Redunce has played well in relief of an injured Penning. When Penning returns, the most obvious solution would be to put him or Redunce at the right guard in place of Ruiz. Another option could be undrafted rookie Torrey Sally Simpkins III, who was best of all the backup offensive linemen in preseason. Simpkins is unknown, but would be a younger option, while Redunce and Penning may be the safer bet. But if you're the Saints at this point, you have to realize that it truly can't get any worse. Torres Sally Simpkins can definitely do a better job. And even if he makes mistakes, with this, that, and the third, I can live with some of that because I know that he will improve. We've seen 6 years of Cesar Ruiz. And even though you've seen, even if I try to give him grace and say, okay, the last 3 years, the man had 3 different offensive line coaches, right? He had 3 different line coaches, right? The last 3 years. But at the same time, blocking is blocking. Blocking is blocking. I mean, he making decent money. They read up with Caesar salad, and the guy's just not good, man. I'm so happy that people are starting to really see this guy. I've been talking about this guy for a long time. Cornerback, Isaac Yiadom, 1.96 in the salary cap hit his replacement, Quincy Riley. We knew this was coming because there's also the fact that it's a trade situation where they can get compensation. So at some point, the Saints are going to make this move. They got to make it. In 2023, Yiadom stepped in for New Orleans as an injury replacement and broke up an impressive 14 throws while allowing just under 49% completion percentage when targeted. That turned out to be an aberration. Through 2 games this season, the opponents have successfully targeted Yiadom on 9 of 10 throws of an average of over 10 yards. That's horrible, family. That is a complete trash stat by Isaac Yiadom. I don't know what Yiadom stands for, but it has to, after all of his play, it's got to be something on that side of not being very good. That is a horrible stat. 9 of 10 throws for an average of 10 yards. He giving up 10 yards. He giving up a first down 9 of 10 times. He has yet to officially record a pass breakup through 2 games and has tacked on a couple of costly defensive penalties. What might even be worse, that if Yiadom hits a certain snap count threshold this season, he'll cost the Saints a compensatory draft choice next spring. There aren't many options for New Orleans here. One is to play Alante Moore at the outside and limit Yiadom's defensive reps, but Taylor's flourishes best when he moved around the defense like this, like they talk about the star role in some defense. Another solution could be to try rookie 4th-round choice Quincy Riley at corner. Quincy Riley, all he does is get it. He plays hard. He's smart. He's tough. He's fast. I mean, if you're going to struggle at the cornerback position, at least struggle with a player with a higher upside. We know Quincy Riley. At some point, the Saints was going to pull Quincy Riley and put him in there over Yiadom. We knew that was going to happen at some point, right? He's a 4th-round draft pick. You won't see what he has. Riley has yet to play a down on defense this year and will certainly be heavily targeted due to his inexperience, just like they heavily targeting Kool-Aid McKinstry. It's time for these guys to learn. But again, how much do Brandon Staley and the Saints need to see before coming in to the conclusion that Yiadom is a liability in the secondary? Perhaps Werner, Yiadom, and Ruiz turn things around against Seattle this Sunday. So early in the season, all 3 will likely be given an opportunity. New Orleans coaches should also consider the definition of insanity and at least explore if they have viable options at these vulnerable positions, because the current solution have more than proven they aren't the answer. That's Bob. Shout out to Bob Rose, man. Big ups to Bob, man. Bob penned this article, man, and laid the smackdown, the rock style on top of the Saints. And he ain't cut no corners. He ain't sugarcoat no shit, Dunkin' Donuts. He ain't sugarcoating nothing, man. Shout out to Bob Rose laying it down and telling the truth, man. All right. I know, man. He was laying it down. But yeah, man, but he pinpointed and talked about and called for the benching of these players. And what that does is it electrifies and makes the Saints players know that complacency with losing and mistake-ridden football is not acceptable. If you shaking up the veterans and moving these guys out and putting your younger counterparts in there, of course, they'll make more mistakes, but look at the mistakes that we see these guys making. I mean, you paying Yiadom $9 million for 3 years, and Yiadom is playing like he's a rookie cornerback in there, taking poorish angles, missing tackles, slow to the party. This sort of thing. Ruiz is another guy. So I mean, if you're going to make mistakes at that position, the main thing you would have to focus on if you're going to make mistakes at that position Uh, why not make him with a young player? And we'll see how it goes, man, because listen, a lot of people, they have to be on edge right now because the reality is the previous incarnations of the Saints in the last 4 years, they would have just protected these players and kept playing them and ignored their shortcomings on film, like Dennis Allen did. The rat-faced possum. That's what he did the last 4 years. But what's intriguing and interesting is coming into this season, guys that were not performing up to their draft status got put in the street. DeMarco Jackson and Isaiah Foskey, the slow man. These guys got put in the street because they were not living up to their draft status. They were not being productive, so they had to go. So, and this is the thing. If we have to make these guys understand that you will do your job or you will be replaced, then that's what we'll have to do, right? That's what the hell we got to do. Straight up and down. That's what we have to do. But anyway, man, shout out to Bob, man. Bob led the SmackDown, and that's why I say I got a lot of respect for Bob, because Bob always tells the truth. We have to bring Bob in for the coma and let Bob break all this stuff down, man, and go from that, man, because I love his writing. He always tells the truth. All right, fam, let's keep it going. I got one more thing for y'all. Y'all do me a service and hit that damn like button and the share button, man. We're going to do a little preview, man, from the CBS side of things. We're going to do our Seattle preview, I think tomorrow or maybe Friday, we'll see. But we're going to take a look at it. All right, anyway, man, shout out to y'all. Big ups. What's up, Desi? Shout out to Desi. Much love. What's up, brother Marvin? Marvin says, Q, I scream when we had, yeah, I know. The coverage he got behind them, bro. I seen the coverage. He was looking, watching that cutting wide receiver, and Mac Jones seen him looking in that, and then when he stepped forward and seen where he was looking, he went right over the top of his head. There was nothing he could do about it. And the Saints defense looks slow because, like I said, if you're going to run the 34 defense, them linebackers have to be athletic. You can't have old, slow-ass linebackers in the middle of the 34 defense, bro. They'll pick you apart. Look what the 40, and I know the 49ers, they run a similar unit, but I'm just saying the speed overall, sideline speed of the players was ridiculous. If you watch the film, guys were running to the ball 3 and 4 times. If he break a tackle, 2, 3 more guys was in his path. They made it rough and rugged for the runners. So, I mean, I was like, man, we need that type of ferocity and that type of commitment to stopping this from happening. What's up, Chantel? Shout out to Chantel. Hemisphere says, Q, you never know, making these changes like replacing starters for bad play might be what's needed. It's definitely that. He says, well, what's needed, we'll all see the media that covers the team is an issue. Might be what's needed as we see the media that covers the team isn't the issue. And I don't know what I don't know what the spill is on that hemisphere. All I can say is, bro, is that usually when you see the type of stuff that's going on with the Saints, they're not getting beat down because they're bad. Not insofar as, the teams is this, or manhandling Saints because their talent is not there. They're just the overall talent of the team is bad, this type of thing. That's not what's going on here. They have a discipline, intelligence, and execution problem. That's the thing. Because your star wide receivers shouldn't be dropping a touchdown pass. Your starting $10 million a year tight end shouldn't be dropping easy catches. Just concentration drops, running without the ball. What's that about? And that don't make any sense. If you need to hit the jug machine, bro. I mean, seriously. And we, like Spencer, he talked about he needs to put a better ball, and that's true. Spencer can do a little bit better. They all can. But the Saints offensive line, all this needs to change, fam. We need an upgrade in mentality. The film has to reign truth for the coaching staff. They have to pinpoint the guys that are not playing well and give them an ultimatum to play better or be replaced. That's the bottom line. We can't let individual poor effort from players damage the team's prospects of winning. That is a no-no, right? All right, big ups to you. What's up, KT? Said Bob Ruler needs to be I know that was a hard hitter, man. That was a hard hit. All right, Chantel, good night to you. Appreciate you. All right, but let's keep it going, man, on that. Yeah, I know KT says Philadelphia runs 34, and you got to have athletes to run that 34 defense. You can't have slow-ass people up there. If you're going to have the DeMario in the middle of that 34, you need to have an athletic linebacker there. Now, I'm not saying that Pete Werner can't play, but Pete needs to come off the field if the passing situation is there. I agree with that. If you put an athletic linebacker, you need speed at the left at the athletic linebacker at that linebacker position next to DeMario. If DeMario's the brains, you need an athletic linebacker there. And at some point, they're not going to want to get rid of Pete Werner because DeMario Davis is retiring, and they see Werner as Davis's replacement and another linebacker next to him, Danny Stutzman. You see what I'm saying? That's what they see, or what Mickey Loomis said. What's up, V Griffin? Shout out to V. All right, let's hit this one, man. This is my last one for y'all. This is Charles Davis from CBS. He does a little preview on it, and let's hear what Charles had to say about the Saints prospects in this thing. Y'all put one in the chat if you can hear this, baby.
So far, but I think I'm going to love what I see from Sam Darnold in the weeks to come. I feel like they are just getting on the path to where this offense is going to ultimately end up. And what I mean by that is a new offensive line, a few new people there, so they're going to be settled in and play better there. Jalen Sundell as center is a nice pickup, a nice addition. Then the receiving core learning Sam Darnold learning the receiving core. And Cooper Kupp, week one, was almost non-existent, had people terrified that they'd seen the best of him and got left in Los Angeles. And then last week he comes back and he's Cooper Kupp again. 5 catches, 90 yards, yards after the catch. Oh, that's the Cooper Kupp we know. I think the weapons are there. But what I like the most is week 1 to week 2, Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, he got back to running the football, which is what they said they were going to do from day one. They didn't do much of that week 1 against San Francisco. Week 2, especially the second half, hello, Kenneth Walker, his 8th 100-yard game in his career. And, they really started to look much, much better as the offense started to hum.
Isn't it funny, Charles, how, when some of these big names don't have one good game, there's like a sense of panic around the fan base, like he's not the same Cooper Kupp. And he said, hang on a bit, it's just been 1 week. I got to get things going, right? So if we switch things over and talk about the defense, we saw them sack Aaron Rodgers 3 times, picked him off a couple of times as well. Overall, what is standing out to you about that side of the ball for Seattle?
We expected them to be good because they were good last year. I think they were 11th overall in total defense. And that's what Mike McDonald does, head coach and also defensive play caller. But what the way they're doing it, they're shutting down people running the football. Teams who run it well have not run it as well against Seattle. But the other part is, you mentioned the sack numbers last week, the pressure they're putting on quarterbacks. They're doing it without blitzing. They have one of the lowest blitz rates in the league. So that means the front people are getting there. And Byron Murphy, the second-year nose out of the University of Texas, all they talked about is, can he get better at pass rush? Well, last week he had 1.5 sacks. He had a half sack his entire rookie season. So when he plays like that, that brings along Leonard Williams. That brings along Jaron Reed. They got Uchenna Nwosu back off the injured list. Boye Mafe off of the edge. They've got people who can go get the quarterback. And if Mike McDonald doesn't have to blitz, he can do a lot of things in the back end. And remember this, Jacqueline, they did it without maybe their best player, Devin Witherspoon. He didn't play last week against Pittsburgh, the defensive back. If they can get him back, get the rookie Nicky Memori back off of injury, they've got a chance to be a top 5 defense in this league. And I say that without hyperbole.
All right,
they got a lot of stuff going on with the Seattle team, and Charles Davis is not wrong on that. They have a lot of players, man. They made some moves to improve the defense. The defensive coordinator is pretty cool too. He's a good defensive mind. And then, of course, they got the stadium going for them with all the loud noise. And the reality is that's not good news for the Saints. The Saints are not keeping guys. Well, Spencer's, they're not protecting Spencer in a way where, he's getting flushed out of the pocket. And fam, listen, if we look at the film, we study the film, they study the same film. They're looking at the same stuff that we looking at. I'm telling you, when defensive coaches look at the film, they're studying the film to find weak points that they can attack you at. They're not going to attack you at the strong suit a lot of times. They're going to find a weak point to attack you at. And they're going to look at the interior of the line, the guard play, and they're going to attack those guards. They're going to attack Cesar Ruiz. They're going to attack if Penning is good to go. Penning is, remember, even though, Penning is a guy that played a lot of reps, he hadn't played a lot of reps at the guard position. So expect Penning coming off the injury to kind of reset the bad technique, which means him not having the leverage, him blocking up too high and get guys basically walking him back. So that has to, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they have to do it. Some kind of way, he's going to have to find a way. Now, we talked about the Saints did pick up 2 veteran offensive linemen and added them to the practice squad. We have to think at some point maybe that's a part of the philosophy of the team eventually to kind of add these guys in, being that the Saints only had one offensive line left from the practice squad that wasn't hurt in Easton Kilty, and you have these other guys. And they're not like big name people. These are just depth additions. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the Saints do this, because this offensive line conundrum has to improve. Going into 3 weeks, they have to develop a mindset of toughness. And even if, it's just, where's your heart and passion, man? Where's the heart and passion to blow or push out or reset the line, resituate defensive linemen, because they're coming. You going up there and they're going to try to take it to you. So it's going to be interesting, man, no matter how you look at it, to try to stop this team. Defense, everybody got to play better. It's not going to be easy to beat.
Look forward to seeing what they got cooking there on defense. If we go to the Saints, they're 0-2, yes, but seemingly maybe a little bit more competitive than we were expecting them to be in these first couple of games, right? How much of that has to do, I should say, with Spencer Rattler and sort of the development that you've seen from him?
Yeah, I think you hit on something there, Jacqueline. We're so used to making jokes about when they're not the Saints or the Aints and they're paper bags. This isn't that type of a team. In both games, they had the ball with one last possession with a chance to win, tie, go ahead, all of those things. It didn't happen in either case, but the competitiveness that you quoted was there. How much does it have to do with Spencer Rattler? I think it has to do with the team collectively, but he has to be the focal point because he was chosen to be the starting quarterback. And guess what? He's played pretty well. And I actually talked with the defensive coordinator in the league earlier this week about what he's seen so far out of Rattler. And he said he was watching some other tape, and he said, this kid looks like he is decisive, a little bit elusive in the pocket, and we know he's an accurate thrower. He had to battle to get the job. He's not going to let it go easily. He likes what he's seen from him. I think the team feels the same way about it. Remember, when Tyler Shough got drafted, Jacqueline, a lot of people thought it was a fait accompli. He'd be the starter this year. Spencer Rattler earned the job. He doesn't want to let it go.
Yeah,
Charles Davis makes a good, report, a scouting report on Spencer Rattler. Actually, pretty accurate for a national beat writer or reporter rather, about the Saints who not really tip into the national spiel about Spencer Rattler. They're actually giving him credit for what he's doing. He is not throwing interceptions, right? He's being very diligent and careful with the ball. But it is also should be noted that the Saints could easily be 2-0 right now if certain receivers and tight ends would catch the damn ball when it was thrown to them. The Saints could easily be 2-0 if the veteran wide receiver and tight end on the team do their jobs. They could have been 2-0 just that damn fast. So it's not a beat down of it. It's just execution. Guys got to do what they paid to do.
Numbers are very drastic. We just saw it there, the first 8 games versus last week. It's a new head coach as well. It's year 1 under Kellen Moore. We know he knows how to win. He did that as the OC of the Eagles. And when we see first-year head coaches kind of get their hands on teams, you start to see like little imprints of them, right? So have you seen any like Kellen Moore-isms that have been transferring through the Saints so far?
That's a great question, Jacqueline. And I will tell you, the competitiveness. I know sometimes that word gets overused, but when you see Kellen Moore and you meet him, he just looks like, this apple cheek guy, baby face coach. He's the youngest coach in the league, but he is as competitive as they get. People forget that when he played at Boise State as a starting quarterback, his teams were 50-3. And he won big games, he and his team, with comebacks. I remember watching him in Landover, Maryland, beating Virginia Tech, who was really good with a last-minute comeback, beating Georgia in the state of Georgia in Atlanta with Boise State, 50-3. These are types of people who wake up every day wanting to compete, and he's trying to infuse that throughout his team. And I think so far we're starting to see it. He hasn't gotten the results he's wanted yet, but if you're going to play against his team, you better be ready to go for 60 minutes.
Exactly.
Well, at least half of that, because most of the time the Saints doing their own selves, and that's what I'm saying. Like the first couple of weeks of the season, it's them shooting themselves in the foot. It's them doing it to themselves, man. And that's a big part of the game. Nobody's hammering out the Saints. The Saints are allowing teams to win because they're doing brain neutral stuff all the time, dropping the ball. It's just a lot of stuff. If you watch the film, you can see a lot more that I care not to really talk about. But it's a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up. So weeks 3 and 4, it's really for people hitting the panic button right now. I'm not going to just look at that, but it should be a high state of urgency. Not panic, but urgency. It has to be urgency because you don't want to start the season off 0-3. Or either, if you go up there and lose to Seattle, the Seahawks in their building go 0-3, you could very well be 0-4 by the start of the next month. You got Buffalo as the 4th game. You could be very well 0-4. And that is not a place that you want to be if you know New Orleans Saints. You don't want to be after a month of September is in it and we're going into October. You don't want to be sitting up here at 0-4. Absolutely not. I mean, you don't take care of business at home, now you got to do it on the road. You got to take care of business. So they got to go up there and they got to let it play. They got to fly around. They got to make plays. They got to find out how to get a pass rusher and not let that quarterback stand up there and hammer. They got to continue to stop the run, and they got to make catches. They got to start off fast, have a rhythm offense. They got to get in the goddamn end zone, make plays. And if we need Groupie to make field goals, you got to make the damn field goals. All this stuff needs to be ironed out, man. It's too many problems and too many stupid self-imposed issues. That's team focus, man. Guys need to be professionals, man, and operate with that. Pitch and catch, man. Simple stuff. Go back to fundamentals, man. That's the bottom line. Anyway, man, listen, that's all I got for y'all tonight, man. Will they turn it around? I ultimately think they will turn this around, man. I don't know how like I said, 2 weeks, usually my thing I always talk about 3 to 4 weeks is what it takes for them to be ironing out some of these things and getting it on the other side. But we'll see, man, because a lot of it is benching certain guys that can't play and doing other things, this type of stuff. We need to make moves, and we need to keep it and cut down all of this other foolishness, man. Bottom line, make plays, make plays. Anyway, with that being said, man, I'm going to get ready to get out on that, man. Listen, I appreciate y'all for being in the stream. Shout out to y'all for being in this thing, man. Listen, man, I will return tomorrow. We'll talk more about it, man. We'll do the Seattle preview. We'll see, maybe tomorrow or Friday. It might be tomorrow. We'll see on that, man. But listen, Saints need to take care of business. They need to handle their damn business. They cut out all this other stuff, man, and stop shooting themselves in the foot. They need to focus on playing good, smart football. And that's the only way we're going to start winning this stuff, man. Bottom line. So with that being said, y'all hit that like button. Hit that sub button, man. The subscribe button. Also feel free to hit the notification bell. And I shall return tomorrow, baby, with more great Saint talk. With that being said, I'm holla at you. Much love. Who dat to you. Peace.
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, running like this and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this and I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network. WhoThatDaily.com. That's right, the WhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who Dat and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, WhoThatDaily.com is your site. The WhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who Dat in all of us. That's right, the Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. Remember, it helps the platform continue to grow. Check out the Pro Shop and